And here to challenge Esgair Dafydd are 12 of the world's finest rally drivers in 7 makes of car, all with at least 240 horsepower under their bonnets. And the first of those drivers in the Pace Petroleum Rallysprint is last year's winner, Pentti Arikala from Finland. He comes from Helsinki, although he lives in Marlow at the moment. Last year he won in a Vauxhall Chevette, the British champion of 1979. This year he's in a David Sutton Ford Escort and very, very quick in practice, very quick indeed. And just watch the way a really top man like Arikala gets the line of the car absolutely right by swinging the rear of it left and right, using his accelerator foot to steer the car as well as the steering wheel. And now he's up the fastest part of the course on this uphill stretch, going into Four Counties Corner, the very, very fast left-hander. There's a 400-foot drop to his right there. He's clear of that, but soon the drop will appear on the left again as Arikala plummets into shape. Watch for the split, 55.5 seconds halfway up the hill. We're going to give you the timing points halfway up the hill and at the end of the stage. Pentti Arikala then, first in the Scottish, Circuit of Ireland, Ulster and Welsh rallies of the past, driving in the 1981 Welsh Rally in his next event. And he's certainly going to be setting a target time for most of the competitors that are going to be following him. Hunched over the wheel. And that target time for Pentti Arikala in the David Sutton Ford Escort, 1 minute, 33.4 seconds. This is the challenger. Tony Pond has just come back from finishing third in the Tour of Corsica in a Datsun car, but he's in a Vauxhall Chevette in this event because he's driving for the works this year. First in the BBC Rallysprint event at Donington last year, and a man with an enormous amount of experience. He's driven Escorts, Triumphs, Talbot, Opel, GM Chevers in South Africa, where he does a lot of rallying. First in the Tour of Britain, he's won the Buchholz de Spa, the Manx Rally in 1970 and 1980, and a man who believes in keeping fit. Last year, at this very point, he went over the edge, and it was only that bunch of trees on his right that saved him from plunging down 400 feet. And look at this, Tony's really got his foot hard down. The line absolutely perfect. The split time, the fastest split time was 55.5, and he's of Pentti Arikala, and 54.7 is 0.8 of a second quicker then. Tony Pond quicker than Pentti Arikala at the split. And watch the bump on the right. There he goes, and there's another one coming up on the left. And he just skirts it, flings the car into the right-hander. Foot hard down. Arikala's time, 1:33.4. Tony Pond out to beat it. 250 horsepower, as near as makes no difference. And that's beaten it handsomely by 2 full seconds, and that's a terrific amount over such a short distance. Per Eklund, the brilliant and talented Swedish champion driver in a Toyota Celica. The bearded Per Eklund, who, like Tim Bryce, wears glasses. And when Per is really trying, you see him hunched up over the wheel, crouched forward, peering through the windscreen. And he'll be trying here today because Per won this event the year before last in a Triumph TR7, when he was in terrific form in the very powerful V8 engined car. Second here last year. So Per Eklund has got a wonderful record here at Esgair Dafydd. Driven in Saabs, VWs, Fiats, Porsches, Volvos, Triumphs, Toyota. Very much the professional driver. And Per Eklund's split time, 56.5. is still way off the pace, nearly 2 seconds slower than Tony Pond. 131.4, the target that Per Eklund is going for. And not as much outside it, frankly, as I expected him to be. 1:34 seconds. Left-hand drive. Per always looks rather baffled about things, rather worried when he's sitting behind the wheel, but it doesn't stop him from going very, very quickly indeed. In the Talbot Sunbeam, yet another make of car here at Esgair Dafydd, a very important driver with a very important passenger, because alongside Russell Brooks is no less a man than Victor Gauntlet, who is the chairman of Pace Petroleum and Aston Martin cars, and he's seeing what it's like from the passenger seat, and I can tell you from personal experience it's very, very exciting. Russell Brooks, the 1977 champion of Britain, a man who's twice won the Circuit of Ireland, who's been in terrific form year after year in the RAC Rally, 2/3 and a second, whose wife Julia's just presented him with a baby, and Russell said last night the baby's lungs are more powerful and noisy than his Talbot Sunbeam's car engine. Full bottle round the left-hander, that's it, and he'll come out at exactly the right line. Beautiful, lovely bit of driving. The split, 55 seconds. Very quick, 3/10 of a second. In fact, it's the second fastest, only 3/10 of a second outside Tony Pond's fastest time on the split, 54.7. So we've got a possible new fastest time coming up. Russell Brooks, and the time he's challenging is 1:31.4, and he's going. The Talbot handling beautifully. Just got this right-handed. If he can come out of that fast and straight and not go too far from the left, he could just beat Tony Pond's time. 1:31.4 the target, and he hasn't. 1:32.2. There's still a downhill run to come, and as ever, the cherubic Russell Brooks looking quite serious behind the wheel. And this is the man of 1981 so far, Jimmy McRae from Lanark, the heating engineer who last year became the Irish tarmac champion, who this year, as he did in 1980, has won the Circuit of Ireland Rally, one of the very toughest of all, who leads the 1981 British Rally Championship, and last year was in absolutely superlative form in a Vauxhall Chevette. He changed his allegiance to this Opel Ascona 400, so called because it's, although very like the standard Opel Ascona, pretty special to put it mildly, and only 400 of them have been built. Look at that enormous spoiler on the boot lid to help with the aerodynamics. And you'll see when you look down on the car, two long black rubber fins stretching along the front mudguards as air splitters to help with the aerodynamics. Just see them on the left of the car as you're looking at it now. Jimmy McRae at the wheel then. The split 56.3, quite badly off the time. Tony Pond is the man of the day so far, and I don't think that Jimmy McRae, good as he is, can possibly make up the distance, the time that he's lost on the first half to Tony Pond. It's still then Pond's time in the Chevette of 31.4, and the Chevette's obviously the car for Esgair Dafydd, because Pentti Ricola won here last year in a Vauxhall Chevette. 34.4, that's 3 seconds off the pace. Big crowd here at Esgair Dafydd. They've come, these rally enthusiasts, from all over Britain. I've been talking to people who've come from Bristol and from the north, and of course from Wales, to see the very cream of British and European rally drivers competing on this very, very testing stage. And on the line is the sensation of the 1980 RAC Rally, the man who won it, Henry Toivonen, the young Swedish driver in his Talbot Sunbeam, the 24-year-old son of Pauli Toivonen, an ex-top rally driver himself. And Toivonen is going to be an even greater rally driver. He gets better event by event. Well, having said that, I hope he lives up to it, because he's got to be going very, very quickly indeed. You'll notice he's in a left-hand drive car, and the people that say the left-hand drive cars go so well say that it's because they can't see the drop when they go round Four Counties Corner, which Henry Toivonen is approaching now. 54.7 seconds, the target. The split time halfway up the hill as he goes round Four Counties Corner. Now look at the angle he's got on. Right lock as he goes round this left-hand bend. And very, very wide, almost up to the edge there. And much slower than I expected him to be, Toivonen. Front engine, rear wheel drive, like the Chevette, which has been fastest up Esgair Dafydd so far. Dropping almost into the gully there, tucking his offside front wheel right up to the bank as he comes out of the right-hander. Wonderful drift to the left. And his split time was 1.2 seconds off Tony Pond, and the finish time of 1:33.1, number 10, Opel Ascona 400, like Jimmy McRae's car. The driver sitting on the right-hand side of the car this time, Malcolm Patrick, the Stratford dentist. Very colourful. Patrick was out of rallying, came back into it, won the British Trials and Racing Drivers Association Championship, Rally Drivers Association Championship in 1980, and he's now the dealer Opel team driver number 2 behind Jimmy McRae. Third for much of the Mintex rally until he struck trouble, getting better and better all the time. Not good enough on the split, 56.5, faster than Terry Cabey, the same time as Per Eklund, much slower than Russell Brooks, and of course than Tony Pond. There are going to have to be some absolutely inspired performances on the downhill run if anybody is to get near the man from Fingest in Buckinghamshire in the Vauxhall Chevette, Tony Pond, because the time there of Malcolm Patrick, 1:34.9, is 3.5 seconds slower than Pond. This is the greatest British rally driver of them all, 41-year-old Roger Clark. Nick Britton gets ready with the Union Jack, down it goes. And Roger's driving the privately sponsored MCD Ford Escort, which has been specially built for him to drive with another Escort, another MCD car in rallying this season, after Roger for the last couple of years has driven a TR7 Triumph without a great deal of success. He's back in the car he loved and in which he had so much success. Twice the RAC rally winner in 1972 and 76. Over 50 major rally wins, including 6 Scottish rally first places. And he's on his way. And Roger is a man who really works hard at the wheel. Watch him when he comes out of Four Counties Corner. When you can, look down into the car, see the way his hands are working on the wheel. The split time, 57.9. Roger's off the pace at that point. Wonderful view in the background. It's cleared up since earlier today when we feared that we were going to have the mist. There you see his hands dancing on the wheel, just feeling the steering characteristics. When the car starts to slide, he corrects it immediately. Out comes the tail, down goes the foot, in comes the power. Continuous bellowing roar from the Escort engine as the power goes down. Rocks flying up from the back. 1:37.4 for Roger Clark, and that means at the end of the uphill runs at this Pace Petroleum Rallysprint, black, red, yellow Ford Escort, the bespectacled company car hire director, Tony Bryce, Tim Bryce, the John Taylor protege. 5 years experience. Originally made his name in the Opel Group 1 car, Opel Kadett. Tim has not yet quite lived up to the promise that he has shown so very often and still does. Last year, Tim, going uphill, went right over the side. The car took a long time to be recovered because it had plunged down the hillside, and Tim showed a lot of guts by just getting straight back into it and driving on. 47.3, his split slower than that of Andy Dawson, faster than that of Julian Raymond and Roger Clark. Round 4 counties safely. Now, foot down for the fast bit. And as you go down the hillside, you see looming up in front of you the very tight left-hander, and you know that you've got to set the car up absolutely right to get round as quickly as possible. And he's done it. Near side wheels, right up to the edge. 1:38.9 was Andy Dawson's fastest downhill run. Fastest run that we've had so far. Getting quicker all the time. Is Tim Bryce going to beat it? He's going to. 1:38.9. He's going to be quicker. And it is, but only just. Bryce then, fastest on the downhill run. Faster than Dawson, as Dawson was faster than Clark, and Clark faster than Raymond. And that means to say that Tim Bryce is now the fastest on aggregate with 3:13.7. Malcolm Patrick, the dentist from Stratford, in the Opel Ascona 400, the winner of this year's Granite City Rally, is now out to beat Tim Bryce's downhill time in the much bigger Opel Ascona 400 than the Ford Escort that Tim Bryce has just gone down in. But handles beautifully, a very, very sturdy car, developed in Germany by German mechanics under the control of Englishman Tony Fall, who is the Opel competitions manager at Rüsselsheim. And Malcolm Patrick is certainly getting the benefit of Tony Fall's knowledge, because Tony is a great ex-rally driver himself, and he knows what the score is as far as developing and setting up a rally motor car. Malcolm Patrick, Opel Ascona, the split of 47.3 is slower than Andy Dawson and exactly the same as Tim Bryce. So he's second fastest down at the present moment, but as I say, slower than the Lancia Stratos of team dealer Datsun, Team Datsun Europe boss Andy Dawson. Malcolm Patrick, very tall, sits very high in the steering seat, well back from it, looks very relaxed, despite the fact that he's having to twist the steering wheel this way and that to maintain the correct direction of the car. And it's a good time. Tim Bryce the quickest so far, 38.5, 1/10 of a second slower at 1:38.6 is Malcolm Patrick in the Opel Ascona, and he's 2/10 of a second quicker on aggregate than Tim Bryce. So every driver we have had down Esgair Dafydd so far has put up a new fastest time. Jim McRae on top of his superb form, although he's better at tarmac rallying than he is on loose stuff like Esgair Dafydd. It doesn't mean to say that he isn't very, very good indeed at rough forestry stages like this one, because he is. First in the Circuit of Ireland last year and this year, leading the British Championship this year. First in the Galway Rally last year, and the Mintex, and the Circuit of Ireland. and Donegal and Cork and the Castrol National, second in the Mintex Rally this year, despite the fact that he had to acclimatise himself from the Vauxhall Chevette that he drove so successfully last year to this Opel Ascona. Jim McRae, fastest time downhill is still that of, to the split, Andy Dawson, 46.8, and so McRae has equalled it. McRae is equal fastest to the split. The fastest downhill time for the whole run that we have so far is that of Tim Bryce, 1:38.5. And I think that Jim McRae is going to be quicker than Tim Bryce. Fastest on aggregate so far is Malcolm Patrick in an Opel Ascona, like the car that his team leader here, Jim McRae, is driving. Beautiful smooth run by Jim. He hasn't put a wheel wrong. Out of the last bend, it's just foot down, and he's kept out of the gully, which Cavey dropped into and lost time. And that 1:37.2 is by far the quickest. It's 1.3 seconds faster than Tim Bryce, and of course that means that we certainly again have a new aggregate leader. Jim McRae's done it. His aggregate 3:11.6 is going to be a very close thing between him and Tony Pond. The drivers are having a hard time, and so are a lot of the spectators. Those people who look as though they're on an almost flat surface are, like hundreds of other spectators here at Esgair Dafydd, right up on the hillside overlooking this absolutely superb venue, this rally stage. You can see how far up the hillside they are, and indeed how far the hill stretches behind them, and there are hundreds of others dotted all the way up. And here is Per Eklund, who was 5th fastest uphill. And I wonder if Eklund is going to be able to beat that inspired drive of Jim McRae's. Downhill fastest, 1:37.2. A slow start for Per. Left-hand drive, the Swedish driver who won here in 1979 in a Triumph TR7 V8, who was second here last year in a Triumph TR7 V8. Regrettably, there aren't any of that fine motor car here today because British Leyland have retired the Triumph TR7 from rallying, to the regret of so many people, because it seemed to be getting better and better all the time. And Per Eklund then, who is very much the professional rally driver, has signed a contract with Toyota to drive for Ove Andersson's developed team, although it's Toyota UK that are backing him. And Per Eklund on his way with the split time of 46.5, and that is the fastest we've had so far. So Per Eklund is driving this very big-looking Toyota Celica very, very quickly indeed. He's always superb on the downhill run. 46.5, fastest on the split. Per Eklund, 33 years old, from Arvika in Sweden. The fastest time that he's got to beat downhill, Jim McRae, 1:37.2, and I think he's going to do it, because when he gets round this left-hander, there is very little left of the course. He's into it now. This is the last left-hander with that nasty little gully on the left. 1:37.2 is the target. He's going to beat it handsomely. And he has 0.4 of a second inside Jim McRae's fastest previously downhill run, and once again a faster time than anybody else on aggregate. The new leader, with 4 men to go and 4 real aces like Per Eklund, is Per Eklund. 3 minutes 10.8 is the new target time. It's a moot point who's the most spectacular man at Esgair Dafydd today. Certainly one of them is this man, Pentti Iirisala, last year's winner. Headlamps alight. He's got nothing in front of him to warn that he's coming, but Pentti is going to make an impression every which way, visually. He's going to throw that car about, headlights blazing. The Rally Sprint winner of 1980 in a Vauxhall Chevette, the 1979 British champion, the man who's won so many events, the Scottish Rally, the Circuit of Ireland, the Ulster and Welsh rallies, 16 years experience, back in a Ford Escort, driving for David Sutton. The fastest split time, I remind you, and I think we're going to have a faster one now from Pentti Arikala, the Finnish driver from Helsinki, was 46.8 by Swedish driver Per Eklund, but no, Eklund quicker. That's a surprise. That really is a surprise to me. It's a mark of how well Per Eklund was driving in that Toyota Celica, that he was that much faster on the first half of this downhill run than the man we're watching, Pentti Arikala. This is last year's win. Full bottle round here. Whoa! Watch his hands. Locked up the front wheels there. 36.8, the fastest time down. Per Eklund. And Pentti Arikala not only outside Per Eklund's split time, but outside Per Eklund's total downhill time. So the sequence, as it was once before, has been broken. Pentti Arikala on your right, on the left-hand side of the car, ever cheerful. He's always smiling. 3:11.3, but it's not good enough, Pentti. Per Eklund is quicker, 3 minutes 10.8, and is leading as yet another Scandinavian lines up at the top of the hill. This ex-ice racer, Nick Britton, standing in front of him, clears the way, opens up the course. The time to beat, 3 minutes 10.8, that's the aggregate time. The fastest downhill run remains that of Per Eklund, 1:36.8, and the very spectacular Henri Toivonen is after it now. Toivonen seems to manage to get the rear of a car further round than anybody else without actually completing the spin. Superb reflexes and car control. Now, it's how he gets round the Four Counties corner that he is approaching now that is going to decide whether Henri Toivonen is going to be fastest downhill and on aggregate so far. He is fastest at the split, 45.5 seconds, faster than the previous fastest Per Eklund by a full second. Now, Toivonen was about 1.1 seconds slower than Tony Pond on the uphill run. So it's going to be very, very exciting. I have no doubt that unless Henri Toivonen makes a mistake from here on, which I very much doubt that he will do, he's going to be fastest downhill and fastest on aggregate. And there will then only be two drivers left to go. 1:35.2. That is an incredible 1.6 seconds inside Per Eklund's fastest downhill time of 1:36.8, and he's carved well over a second, in fact a second and a half off Eklund's aggregate, and the new leader is the man you're looking at on the right-hand side of the screen, the smiling Henri Toivonen. The target time now for the last two drivers becomes 3 minutes 8.3 seconds. And there's one of the two men that could win with Henri Toivonen. Russell Brooks, with Pace Petroleum and Aston Martin chairman Victor Gormlitz sitting alongside him. He's about to have the thrill of his life, I suspect, notwithstanding the fact that he's a great Bentley driver, old Bentley driver, in competition himself, Victor Gormlitz. He's with the 1979 British champion, double Circuit of Ireland winner, the very gritty Russell Brooks, who drove for so many years for Ford, and then last year switched to Talbot, stayed there this year. Third in the Circuit of Ireland this year in this car, Russell Brooks. Now, it's the split time that's critical. 45.5 is the fastest. Henry Toivonen the man who did it. Russell Brooks is well outside it. 7/10 of a second. And I would very much doubt, well that he is going, that Russell Brooks will be able in the second half of his downhill run to take time out of Henry Toivonen. But my goodness, he's going very, very quickly indeed on this section. Beautiful car control. Watch the near side wheel hopping as it went round the corner when the weight came off it. Russell very cool. Lovely car control. 1:35.2. Henry Toivonen, the fastest time downhill so far. And Russell Brooks looks to me as though he's going to beat it. No. An illusion. 1.3 seconds outside Henry Toivonen's time. And this man, Tony Pond, in the Vauxhall Chevette, in fabulous form today. I remind you, it was a Vauxhall Chevette like this that Pentti Irikola took to victory at the Esgair Dafydd Rallysprint last year. This could be the winning drive. He's got to be very quick indeed, of course. He was going up Esgair Dafydd 1.1 seconds faster than Henry Toivonen. So he has got to do the downhill run in 1:34.1 or less to equal Toivonen and less to beat him. 1:34.1 then must be Tony Pond's target time. Very purposeful, determined looking motor car, and certainly a very purposeful driver. And he's slower on the split, much slower on the split. He's a second slower on the split than Toivonen. It's tremendously critical. They're just about equal on time now. He had to be at least 1 seconds faster than Toivonen, and he was a second slower than him on the split. So it's going to be tremendously close. 1:34.1, his target time, Tony Pond, if he's to equal Toivonen's time, and he's got to be inside it if he's to win, and it looks to me as though he is going to win. Is he? No, he's not. 1:36.4 for Tony Pond, and we're just checking, and it looks to us as though, subject to official confirmation, nevertheless, as though Tony Pond has won by about half a second from Henry Toivonen. There's the confirmation that Tony Pond in the Vauxhall Chevette has won the Pace Petroleum Rallysprint. That aggregate time of 3 minutes 7.8 seconds was done in spite of the fact that he was locked in third gear all the way down the hill. He went up to astronomical engine revs and won, just beating Henry Toivonen in the Talbot Sunbeam, Tony Pond in the Vauxhall Chevette, by just half a second, with Russell Brooks, a very well-deserved third place in the second Talbot Sunbeam, just 0.4 of a second slower than Toivonen.